Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I've got a pretty good update slash review of what happened to Millie Weaver yesterday. There's no doubt in my mind she was arrested, by the way. I don't think in any way and in fact, there's no way that this is a publicity stunt, and we'll get to why in a moment. That was pondered by people, both in the comment section. And then shout out to Robbie Martin for having healthy skepticism, but then finding, and we're going to present it here, the actual link to what we have of a kind of arrest record. Because once again, if you watch that video, number one, what really didn't seem staged about it is, shout out to Millie. Obviously, she's an attractive woman, right? But she always presents herself extremely well. And if she were to stage it, I just don't think, believe me, I don't think she would have been done up, like getting ready to, do an interview or something that was in the film. But she wouldn't have looked the way she was and have a rushed camera. It would have been a little bit more produced if this was some kind of a stunt. So the other really odd thing, and shout out to Spiro, the rather prolific YouTuber at this point that's done a lot of great work all around in the alternative media. He calls the police office, and on top of the burglary charge, there's a domestic abuse charge in there as well. So I'm not sure where this is going. We have to remember Millie's husband was also arrested in this. So there's a lot to take in on the arrest. I'm not saying that the arrest has anything to do with the film, but it is rather odd that, the two coincide with one another on the release, that the person who is a supposed whistleblower in here, Tori, that uploaded it to YouTube, and as far as I can see, it's still on YouTube with about 700,000 views, and I encourage you to watch it. We're going to, like I said, we're going to do a full review on this film. And it's an important film, by the way. I think that she did a very, very good job. And my criticisms of this one are going to be very minimal. And that doesn't mean I believe everything that's in here, because there's some interesting things we're going to point out. But to me, there's no doubt she's been arrested. We're going to show you the arrest record here. And then we're going to go over what Shadowgate is, whether or not she was targeted. Obviously, Alex Jones is saying what Alex Jones is saying, right? But at the same time, Alex Jones has both whistleblowers that are basically claiming to be ex-military / contractors that are doing the dirty work of these spy agencies, of the deep state, if you will, to make sure there are no real paper trails. And Jones had both of them on. We're going to talk about both of them. I believe Patrick Berge is the one guy's name. And then we don't really know Tori's name, as she's withheld it, right? She's just put Tori out there. I'm sure someone's going to figure out who she is in the very near future. But her Twitter account is suspended. And I believe she was following me before this. I was seeing a lot of her tweets in my feed, and I think I was tagged. I may have been following her, but I had no idea who she was until this. So we're going to get to the movie in a second. I want to remind everybody about digital censorship and how we are fully demonetized on this platform. And we're now halfway through the month and still only a little over $1,000. A lot of that had to do with GoFundMe freezing my accounts and then saying it was a processing error once I asked. But $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me, guys. Big donors, need you now more than ever. If you caught my morning video, I'm also going to give an update on New York State, on masks in general, on the Zombie Joe, Kamala Vampiris ticket to mask America up, right? We're going to get to all that later on. But this all intertwines. It's all a transhumanist agenda. That is a reality. And if you want to know about that transhumanist agenda, understand what really happened on 9/11 as the anniversary comes up. All of our foreign and domestic policy up until this COVID 1984 nonsense was based in that. So Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, they're free in the playlist section under documentaries, So's Invisible Empire, and Shade the Motion Picture. And make sure you're thumbing the video up right now. 229 watching. Let's get 150 thumbs up. You can also support me via Rockfin and the t-shirt shop. Remember, your life matters. Your skin color should not have to. All right, so let's get to it. Here it is. Millicent F. Weaver, age 29, absolutely was arrested yesterday. Let's not get the quirky conspiracy theories out there that this was a way to promote her film to get arrested on the same day, coincidentally, guys, that if you watched yesterday, and again, I wanted to get as much information as possible. This is one of the whistleblowers on the left with Alex. Let's hit the pause button off so you can kind of see it. Oh, it looks like, see, it's on a loop. But that was the guy right there, okay? And I have some issues with some of the things that he said on the show, and I have some issues with even the Tory person. But I'm going to tell you where I really heavily agree. Now, let's get to the minor issues with this film. I know a lot of you guys came down on me when I did the review of Out of the Shadows and tried to say I was some kind of jealous filmmaker, but everything I said about Out of the Shadows, the good, the bad, and the stuff that I didn't think should be in there and would discredit it, I 100% meant. And, you know, that's why we're going to talk about this. Millie Weaver should be commended for this piece of work. That's without a doubt. And what I really liked about it is that, number one, we're going to put it in here so you guys can watch the whole thing until they take it down. Or I suggest you download it while you can, because YouTube may take it down, which really is interesting to me because in this film, okay, they kind of go after both sides. I know. Kind of crazy, but at the same time show what really happened to Donald Trump and how they tried to bait him. And when I was at We Are Change, there were two things that I really honed in on. Okay, number one is the Cambridge Analytica scandal was only a scandal because they made it as such because both sides were using it. Okay? And that's really something that's discussed here, is that essentially, right, what they do is they will outsource to intelligence agencies, but they're not intelligence agencies. They're private corporations. They set up as shell corporations that don't really have anybody working for them except for other former intelligence assets. Just kind of like Booz Allen Hamilton. Snowden's mentioned several times here. So that type of work. And then they'll contract them out. And Tory claims, for instance, and again, I don't know that all of this is true. I'm just telling you what's in here, that she was the one that downloaded the DNC information or information for them that was then disappeared and then they said hacked and then was replaced. And that was the other thing. Right now there are big revelations out there that an FBI agent changed a CIA document to get, you know, the FISA warrant on Trump, right? Well, she was explaining, remember, Snowden said he'd looked through documents that were absolutely different from the classified version, not just blacked out, right? She's talking about the possibility, not the possibility, she thinks that Seth Rich was actually doing his job and he was set up. And then, you know, the other thing is that if you listen to Patrick Bergey's interview, he also talks about the possibility, he believes that WikiLeaks is basically compromised and a part of this whole thing. I know, it's for a lot of people. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but what I do agree with, and remember, disinformation, all that stuff is a possibility, is the basic structure of what they're talking about. And they talk about how Roger Stone was doing this too, but he wouldn't roll on Trump. Now, at the same time that they kind of deify Roger Stone in the end, saying he's a loyal and actually honest person among these swamp creatures, they're not so nice to Paul Manafort, and they still kind of come at him. I would have liked to see him come at Stone a little bit harder. But, I mean, they're talking about Rick Gates. They're talking about I Spy, right? They're talking about kind of the same thing that Shadow Box, right? If you've been in on the WikiLeaks and the Butowski lawsuits and, you know, Schoenberger and Chavez and all those guys, how they were creating sock accounts, right? And then creating controversy amongst different people. So in the very beginning, what they're trying to do is explain to you how these are the people that were sowing discord. You know, we talk about the GRU or, you know, Alice Donovan, who's named in that initial indictment, and that person creating sock accounts, but then they can't bring you back to the actual person that it is. He says that this Patrick Berge guy, he says that basically the United States is #1 at that. And I would absolutely agree with it. I would absolutely agree with that. Let's play some of this in the background. I'm just saying she did a bang up job. Should be very proud. Has a very good production value, has a very good pace. Now, let's get into some of the other criticisms other than, it's not in here, but the idea that WikiLeaks, is basically an asset of the U.S. government, set up by the U.S. government. Even Jones, in that interview we just showed you, asked him, well, then why are they torturing Assange? And he mentioned Assange before he came on. So props to you, Alex, for really starting to talk about Assange, because this is important. But General Jim Jones, James Jones, they're all talked about here, and people right around Trump. That's the other thing. Now, I think they may be giving Trump too much credit, but they are correct in that when he was offered kind of the same tools that Cambridge Analytica offered, right? Because I've talked about this. They were all doing it right, left. He denied them. He didn't want them. And then he distances himself from Stone in the campaign. So, honestly, I think Millie's done really a great job here. I don't think she pulled any punches. I think, talking about Brennan, Clapper, etc., I think this was great. So, wow, is it really monetized still? That's crazy if they're playing ads on this. But then again, maybe they haven't gotten that Tory person's account yet. But Tory says has been suspended. And remember, I don't know that any of these documents would be leaked or stolen, because everything it seemed that were in this, with that gentleman there, yes, Patrick Berge, it seemed open source. Now, Berge himself, Millie Weaver did tweet out like a classified package that he was mailing out. So that may have something to do with the arrest. I don't know. I'm not trying to speculate. I would also say this. There's a point, again, you have Tory, who's anonymous, that you have to wonder how much you could actually verify any of this information, right? And then two, at some point in the film, Millie's talking to her, and she's talking about how she manipulates small groups, larger groups. And, you wouldn't know if I was doing it now. So maybe this is a disinfo campaign. It's all so cloudy and murky, but I think that the base information that's presented here is 100% real. 100% real. And again, Millie did a great job with this film. Props to InfoWars for starting to talk about Julian Assange, especially because, we're almost to the hearings, these show hearings, and it is all intertwined. And it is, another thing that I want to mention is, let's play Alex. Let's see if he's selling some vitamins here. No, here he is. The other thing is that when Patrick Berge is in this interview and he's also there, you have to ask yourself about the timing for sure. But then he also says, if we wanted to make you an asset, you wouldn't even know it. So you would be unwittingly doing what we wanted you to do, which is also, again, another huge possibility. So overall, again, I'm going to say it. Top-notch job. Top-notch job. And I didn't meet Millie, but she was there at the end of February when I was in D.C. for the Assange event, and she did talk about Assange quite a bit. And in fact, I'm almost 100% certain. I'm not sure if I have it on this channel, but I do have it over at Rockfin, and I think it's free. So sign up for Rockfin, make that account, and go check it out. And props to her for that, because she is, a big Trump supporter, and that I'm rather critical because he hasn't called out the quote-unquote swamp. And speaking of the swamp, I've always said that initial New York Times piece, right, that was a hit piece from somebody within his administration was James Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis. When I was at We Are Change, you can look all this stuff. I talked about Cambridge Analytica being used by both sides. That seems to be vindicated in here. I talked about how all this was a track trace database profiling society. That is really in here as well. Remember, we've been talking about Mainway. I wish they would have covered Mainway in here, because that's a verified program that these guys really are talking about, similar programs with I Spy. Okay? Now, with all this stuff, I always said Mattis was there. There's a point where Tori says the name of the person who wrote that New York Times piece, and Tori actually is censored out. But I gotta think, if this person knows, I think I'm correct on that one still. I still think it was James Mattis, and I think I'm going to be proven right about that one. But who knows? I've been wrong about things in the past. We all have. And I just want to remind people to support Millie Weaver for this. If this arrest does have anything to do with the documentary, that's alarming. That's next level, right? That's really next level stuff, and we have to be alerted to that. And again, I don't have to agree with you to let you have free speech. Isn't that the point? We're supposed to have discussions. So thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. Watch this film, okay? Watch this film while it's still up. Again, Tori says apparently they've still got it up. Let's refresh it. But yeah, I think it's still up, and 734,000 views. It's very good, man. It's very well done. Props to Millie for doing that. Millie has been arrested. There is no conspiracy theory, guys. And Tori, whoever she is, whether she's real or not, has had her account suspended. So there's going to be a lot of digging into this and reporting on it. I'm going to come back later on with a video on New York, the draconian policies, people coming back to school, Mask Up America, Kamala Vampiris, and Zombie Joe, the whole nine. But make sure you thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. Join the Burmist Brigade. If you can, $5, $10, $15, big donors. You mean the world to me. Spend, the hour plus on that documentary today. And then, if you can, check out my films Invisible Empire and Shade the Motion Picture for free in the documentary playlist section. I promise you won't be disappointed. Subscribe, ring that bell, 56,000K strong. Love you for that, guys. Hit the rock fin. Tuesday exclusives. Just create a free account. Tuesday exclusives, Tuesday exclusives, Tuesday exclusives at noon. Live streaming. And, of course, we got the t-shirt shop, because your life matters. Your skin color shouldn't have to. Make the conversation. Say, look, brother, sister, I love you. I don't care if you're Asian. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're Nordic. Doesn't matter to me. Indian. Doesn't matter to me. Native American, right? Portuguese. None of it matters. We all matter, unless I'm, again, across the way from a sociopath or a psychopath or a murderer or a child abuser. Otherwise, we all got things to relate to. I love you guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all on the flip.